Story Corner, presented by Jennifer. Spirit Animals, Book 1, Wildborn, Chapter 5, Training. Abeke sat on the edge of the feathered bed. Her room had a carved desk, an elaborate sofa, cushioned chairs, and a mirror framed in what she thought might be real gold, all for her personal use. Everyone she encountered treated her respectfully, and a servant delivered tasty meals. Her leopard had turned her into royalty. The room gently rocked from side to side. To think such luxury was available on a ship! Abeke would not have believed it if she had not seen it. She appreciated the courteous treatment, but did not feel comfortable in the fancy room. It was too different from home. There were no familiar faces or even familiar ways. Zareth had not joined her on the voyage. At the dock, he had explained that that urgent matters called him somewhere else, and entrusted her in the care of a stranger, a boy named Shane. After everything she had lost, the extra separation had stung. Less than a week earlier, Zareth had convinced her father that Abeke needed to leave Okawi, not just for her personal safety, but for the good of the village. Podolo had promptly agreed. Part of Abeke wished her father had struggled more with the decision. She could not help wonder whether he would have relinquished Soma so swiftly. With the approval of her father, Zareth had smuggled Abeke and Urza away that same night. Abeke regretted never talking to Chinua before leaving. Chinua had thought that Abeke would be the village's new rain dancer. They certainly needed one. In the rush to heed Zareth's advice, she had ignored the needs of her community. What if her absence meant the drought would continue? What if she had shirked her destiny? What if she had missed her chance to finally fit in? Despite the comforts aboard the ship, Abeke missed her father and sister. Back home, they had all shared one room. They had routines, meals together, and Abeke was used to falling asleep to the sounds of her father's snoring. Each night on the ship, Abeke struggled to find sleep. Nothing felt familiar. At first, there had been too many new experiences to get homesick. An exciting coach ride, a busy city, a sea of endless water too salty to drink, then a ship as big enough to hold most of the people in her village. It was only after they set sail that Abeke started to feel restless. She had time to think. She had time to miss prowling the savannah. She had time to wish for familiar faces. At least she had Uzra. Abeke rubbed the leopard's neck and the big cat purred, the vibrations tickling her palm. Uzra was not particularly affectionate, but she never rejected Abeke's stroking. A knock came to the door. It had to be Shane. He was the other pleasant part of the voyage. He had been helping her learn to improve her connection with Uzra. "Come in," Abeke said. Shane opened the door. At 12, he was only 1 year older than she was. He was pale, but handsome, with a sturdy build and a relaxed confidence that she admired. Like her, he had a spirit animal, a wolverine. "Ready to go to the hold?" he asked. "I thought you'd never come," Abeke said. "I'm not used to being penned up." He stood in the doorway considering her. "It's hard to leave all you know behind. I had to leave my parents too. My uncle helped me train, but he's not around either." "My mother passed away 4 years ago," Abeke confided. "She was the only one who understood me. My father and sister, it was different with them. But I do miss them. I know they cared for me as I cared for them." Shane's expression softened. "People here care for you as well, Abeke. We see great potential in you. Those of us with heavy burdens find family where we can. You have your spirit animal. You'll learn to find a lot of solace there. Come." Uzra followed them out of the door. As they passed sailors and soldiers, all eyes furtively stayed on the leopard. Uzra walked with the sinuous grace of a natural predator, and nobody wanted to get too close. Even the bravest gave her plenty of space, while others changed their routes to avoid her entirely. After only 4 days at sea, Abeke had learned to ignore the attention. Shane had prepared the hole for use as a training area. Crates, bales, and barrels had been shoved aside to form a long open space. Nobody disturbed them there. "Have you spent time talking to Uzra?" Shane asked, showing fondness for her. "Yes," Abeke said. "Any spirit animal has unusual intelligence," he reminded her. "Yours will have much more than most. She can't talk, but that doesn't mean she won't understand." "The great beasts speak," Abeke said, passing through the door to the ship's cargo hold. "At least they do in the stories." "When she was a great beast, Uzra was larger than a horse," Shane reminded her. "Does that mean my Uzra is a cub?" Abeke asked. The powerful leopard surely didn't look like a baby. "Spirit animals always arrive as adults," Shane said. "Whether Uzra will grow into everything she once was is hard to guess. We'll have to wait and see." Abeke turned to face Uzra. The leopard gazed at her, violet eyes bright. "Can you sense her mood?" Shane asked. "I don't know," Abeke said, staring hard. "Interested, maybe." "That seems likely," Shane said. "The more you practice, the better you'll perceive her emotions. That's the first step to borrowing her energy in times of need." "What about the passive state?" Abeke had always been impressed by Chinwa's ability to change her wildebeest into a tattoo on her leg. "That's more up to Uzra than you," Shane said. "You must gain her trust. She enters her passive state voluntarily, but she can't emerge until you release her." "You keep your wolverine dormant?" Abeke asked. Once, at her pleading, he had bashfully showed her the hint of a mark high on his chest. "Most of the time. Reneg is great in a fight, but doesn't play well with others. When Uzra consents, you'll get to pick where the mark goes. Many choose their arms or the back of their hands. It's convenient." Abeke had only seen the wolverine once, when they were boarding the ship. It was compact, but looked vicious. Shane held up a short wooden stick. "We did enough archery yesterday. You're good, but I didn't sense Uzra We did enough archery yesterday. You're good, but I didn't sense Uza making you any better. I thought today we should try something more strenuous. We're pretending this is a knife. All you have to do is stab me. He handed Abeke the stick. Abeke went and knelt before Uza. The leopard lounged on the floor, body curled, head up, long tail swishing languidly. Abeke took in the spotted perfection of her pelt, the black around her vibrant eyes, the muscular power of her sleek body. How could such a strong, wild creature be her companion? Uza gazed at her unblinking. Abeke touched one of her paws. We're a team now. Like it or not, we're both far from home, but at least we have each other. I can tell you don't love this ship. Neither do I. But it's just taking us someplace where we can be outside again. I really do like you. You're quiet, you're not pushy, and we come from the same place. I want to learn to work together. Uza purred and Abeke fluttered inside. Was it her imagination, or had they begun to connect? It was difficult to be sure. Abeke turned to face Shane. Whenever you're ready, he invited. Abeke shuffled forward, the stick held in front of her. Back home, she had used a spear at times and had practiced a lot with a bow. She knew little about fighting with a knife. This didn't seem like an effective way to confront a larger, more experienced opponent. She would never approach somebody like Shane openly. Her only chance would be to strike from behind, attack out of hiding. With surprise on her side, she'd have much better odds of succeeding. But this was just practice. She needed to fight according to Shane's guidelines. Maybe there was something predatory in Uza that would amplify her efforts. As Abeke closed in, she tried a quick stab. Shane pivoted away, slapping her wrist. 3 more stabs led to 3 more slaps. She felt no assistance from Uza. This is pointless, Abeke groaned, relaxing her stance. You just need... She lunged and stabbed hard, hoping to catch him off guard. Shane dodged her attack and seized her wrist. For a moment, they struggled. Abeke silently asked Uza for help. Shane pried the stick from her fingers and touched it to her belly. Good try, he said. You almost caught me napping. I would never attack you like this in real life, Abeke said. I'd sneak up on you. Shane nodded. That would be smarter, and more suited to how a leopard would hunt. Tell you what, I'll go to the far side of the hold and stand with my back to you. I won't turn unless I hear something suspicious. Deal? Abeke nodded. This new game would play more to her proven abilities. Shane returned the stick to her and trotted to the far side of the room. Staying low, her pretend knife ready, Abeke crept forward. Step by step, she drew nearer. Are you moving yet? Shane asked, facing away from her. If so, you're good at it. If not, hurry up. We don't have all day. Abeke fought against a smile. She knew that she was a skilled stalker, but it was nice to hear Shane recognize it. Glancing over her shoulder, she found the leopard watching attentively, her posture more alert than earlier. The door near Shane burst open and a figure raced towards him. Robed in black, face covered, the attacker held a curved sword ready. Shane ducked a swipe of the sword and grappled with the intruder. Run, Abeke, he shouted. It's an assassin. Fetch the captain. The assassin was bigger than Shane. They wrestled for control of the sword. Abeke found herself in a low crouch, both unfamiliar and instinctive. A foreign energy blazed in her muscles. Every fiber seemed taut and ready to release. Her senses had never felt so keen. She heard a subtle creak of the timbers as the ship rocked gently to the right. She could smell the attacker, a full-grown man, and could distinguish easily between him and Shane. Her vision was enhanced as well, sharpened. No part of her intended to heed Shane's instructions to run. Her heart swelled with courage, and she sprang. Although several paces from Shane, Abeke closed the distance with a single leap. Hurtling through the air, she lashed out with one leg and kicked the attacker in the arm. He spun to one knee and his sword flew free, clattering across the planed floor. The man rose to his feet with a vicious uppercut that Abeke evaded without a thought. He backed off a step or two, one hand up, ready for combat. The other flopped uselessly at his side. Abeke leapt forward, kicking him in the ribs, her foot crushing through his attempt to block it. The blow landed with enough force to send the assassin flying into the wall. He slumped face down. Her instincts screamed to finish the job, but before Abeke could close in, she felt a firm hand on her shoulder. No, Abeke, no more. It was pretend. He was acting. She slipped out of her heightened state and glared at Shane. Pretend? Uza gave an angry growl, the first Abeke had heard from the leopard. I wanted to see how you would perform under pressure, Shane explained. It worked, Abeke. That was incredible. Many of the Mark train their entire lives without ever attacking like that. Trembling with unreleased energy, Abeke struggled to calm herself. The praise did not escape her notice, but it was hard to embrace it when she felt so stunned. You've got a true response through trickery, she said. What you just did to us was a betrayal. I'm sorry. Shane's smile fell. His earlier excitement gave way to embarrassment. Really, I was trying to help. It was a training technique. I didn't know you'd see it this way. Never again, Abeke said, struggling to calm herself. Or the next time you're in trouble, we'll let the attackers have you. Agreed. Shane ran a hand through his hair. You're right. It was unfair to you and to Uza. It won't happen again. Abeke felt some of the tension leave her. She nodded towards the fallen assailant. Is he all right? Shane crouched beside him and felt his neck. He's unconscious. He'll live. He shook his head. Honestly, I couldn't imagine you would have been able to take out a trained, fully grown opponent. Let me take care of this. You know the way back to your cabin. Abeke turned and found Uza facing her, having approached silently. Now there was no doubt about the wordless understanding. Abeke held out her arm. With a searing pain and a brief flash, Uza leapt to become a blaze of black just below her elbow.